What is going on, you guys? Petplatypus here, and it is time for the animation breakdown for my 40 seconds of animation, which will probably be a pretty long video. Luckily, these early parts aren't too much to talk about, so yeah, we'll just get started. This is iMovie, not any fancy Adobe Flash or any crazy program. It's literally just iMovie, so I kind of have to use every resource I can in iMovie to get these to look as good as they do, because it's obviously not an animation program, but anyways, not really much to say about these first couple shots. It's just pretty much a long vertical image of Surg, that's the character's name, and I just switched the lightning up around him. Pretty stationary shot, put a little bit of shading on it. It looks pretty good. I had to like zoom in on the image to make it pan up like this. It was like a long image of him. You could see the whole body, and it was like black around it, kind of like this picture of me right here, actually. How there's black around my image, and I basically just zoomed in. Actually, I'll just tell you how I did that right now. It's called keen burns, which I don't know what that means, but I basically just went like this, like it's gonna end there, and then put the frame like right here, and then let me go back. Okay, you can't see it because I'd have to like separate the footage, but yeah, that's pretty much what I did. It just zooms up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. And same thing here. There's not going to be any takes for this video, so if I stumble over my words, I do apologize. This is essentially the same effect, just panning across instead of vertically. And this is like a 4-frame animation. Let me get rid of this so I can, there we go. The only real thing of note here is that there's subtitles, I guess, and I put a little bit of a wrinkle under his eyes as he, like, it grows as he squints his eyes, so that makes it a little bit more lively, I guess. A little bit more is going on than just his eyebrows moving. And then here's the stuff that, you know, you obviously want to hear about, is when there's actually more movement. And this is like a 6-frame shot. I'm definitely a fan of using the zigzaggy, blurry limbs, because it allows for me to not try as hard on the art, but still convey fast motion. You know, like it makes it look quick, so it's not really like a cheap way out. It's just, it's sort of a win-win. And this one's like 6 frames because he has to unfold his arms, which was tricky. And you can see he's animated separately from the background. I pasted him in afterwards, and it looks okay, but you can see right here he's not exactly touching the bottom of the frame, so I decided to just attach them to the background so that the shots looked a little bit more consistent. And yeah, this is just like a 4-frame. I think it's 4 frames, and I decided to have him clench his teeth once again to make it look a little bit more lively. Just moved his face with the arms to make it look a little bit better, and like I said, he's attached to the background, so instead of being like a zoom in of just him, it sort of moves the background with him, which is fine. That's not, one's not really better than the other. And that's pretty much that. And it's actually the same background. I just put a building. I just put a building on the side where Jed is to make it look a little different, because that's the wall that Surg will slam into later. So yeah, that's pretty easy. And then this shot, which I wanted to have look better than it does, but I think it turned out pretty good. It's essentially just still shot of him powering up, and then a silhouette. I pretty much color. You can still see the lines from where his muscle detail and clothing detail is, but then it just fades, which that was just an effect. That was like a transition effect in iMovie, and then it switches to this. And this is just, the lightning is actually the same lightning in every shot. This is the original, and then that's horizontal, and then that's horizontal plus a vertical flip, and then that's just basically all. It's basically the same lightning just being flipped around a lot. And it looks good, though. It actually looks like a nice symmetrical electric aura around him, and then the shading is just, I started it off really dark, and then just sort of lightened it so that it showed like a shifting with the lightning, so it looked a little bit more dynamic, I guess. Not dynamic's not really the right word, but I guess lively once again. And then, oops, let's go back. We got this part, which teleporting I knew would be a good way to convey speed without moving the characters across the screen, because that's very difficult. Or not super difficult, but difficult for me. And as you can see, some of these frames do look a little derpy, but they go by pretty quick. I noticed them in detail because I animated it, but yeah, it's just, I decided to have a little bit of zoom there, which once again, anytime the camera zooms like this, that is the keen burns thing, or whatever it's called. just sort of using that to convey a little bit of more impact. And he's close to the camera, so I figured that would be a good thing to add in there. And he sort of dissolves, and then he sort of comes back into focus. Where does it start, actually? There we go. He sort of breaks apart, and then comes back into focus, and then breaks apart again, which is a good look for a teleporting move. And then, you know, just the lines, and then this electric effect is pretty much the same electric effect from before, just... It's obviously, it's different drawings, but it's the same effect. It's like 1, 2, blank, 1, 2, like 3 little bits of lightning, and then blank, basically. Then he teleports behind him, same effect as before. He sort of comes into focus, comes out of focus, and then, yeah, so that works. And it's stationary shot of Jet, new background this time. I shaded the clouds differently. You can see the building a little bit more. Probably should have given it like a window or something, but it's alright. And then you have this shot, once again, same effect on the hand, just 3 bits of lightning and then blank. And then, this was the first time I tried to do in-between frames. I drew like 1, 2, 3, I think, and then I inserted extra frames, and all you can see his face changes a lot in all of these. They're not very consistent, but I think it goes by okay. I could have used a little bit more frames to convey it a little bit better, but yeah, then once again, a little bit of a zoom when the hand gets close to the camera. It just creates a little bit more impact. And then the speed lines, and I blurred him in the background. Originally, it was just going to be the fist with a blue background, but I didn't really like how it looked, so I left in that last frame and made it blurry. And the speed lines just sort of come out like waves. And then we have the impact. Now, this is a little bit more interesting to talk about, because I actually took inspiration from an animator on Dragon Ball for this one. And as you can see, when the fist makes contact, it's zoomed in. This zoom in was actually me enlarging the frame. This wasn't the Keen Burns thing, but as you can see, let me go back to where it starts. Let's see. Yeah, you can see the limbs shake on impact, and they shake to show the impact of the attack. And that was inspired by, I believe his name is Masahiro Shimanuki, which is a big name on Dragon Ball. He works on Dragon Ball Super as well. And yeah, he was really the guy who, I don't know if he probably didn't invent this technique, but he liked to shake the limbs when the punches connect to convey the impact and weight of the attack. And I really like that style because it's conservative on animation, and it looks really good to convey the impact, so I took a little bit of inspiration there. And then you've got my first use of impact frames, which I decided to go with silhouettes of the preceding attack. Like, right here, it's just a simplified version of this lightning that's shooting out. And I got this from Steven Universe, actually. There was an episode of Steven Universe. I believe it's they probably used it maybe other times, but there was an episode called Greg the Babysitter, and the character Rose Quartz, anytime she would hit something or catch something heavy towards the end of the episode, they would just sort of do an impact frame that was basically a silhouette of the attack she was doing. And I thought it looked really cool. I thought it was an effective way of using impact frames, so that's pretty much what I did here. You know, impact frame that zooms out. This is like a 4-frame loop, I believe. I tried to draw the lightning as different as I could. Each one's sort of a slightly different style of lightning. And then this one, I didn't really care too much about it, and it's only a 3-frame loop because I figured you wouldn't be able to see that 4th lightning ring anyways because it's so close. And this shot turned out really good because, let me stop it right here. Basically, all I did was dim the background. Like, all of this is in GIMP, the program GIMP, and I did like different layers and stuff. And I'm not going to go into that too much, but basically, there's the background layer, a black layer that I made transparent so it makes it look dark, and then a layer of jet, which is normal colored with shading, and then the lightning is normal. But because of the contrast of how dark it is back here and the lightning, it really looks like it lit him up. And it looks really nice. He almost has like a bit of a glow to him, kind of, and I don't know, I think it turned out really good. And then, once again, the silhouette impact frame right there, and then he goes flipping backwards. I really like how this shot turned out with the floor scrolling, and it's really dynamic. And then, actually, these zoomed-in ones, they're actually all the same frames as before. I just took Jet on a different layer, and I enlarged them all so that they would get closer and closer to the camera perspective. So it looked like he flips a couple times, and then he starts to get a little bit closer. You know, he leaves right about there. He catches himself, and then he slides back, and then puts his fists together. And it all turned out really, really good. Oh, whoa, way too far back. Jeez, where were we? Okay, right around here. So yeah, and I wanted to have a little Surg, kind of like right, let me see, like kind of like right here, going off into the distance while he's going away from him, so it's a little bit more dynamic, because it kind of just jumps from this to this, and it's a little bit jarring. But it turned out okay. So yeah, I just didn't really know how to put the Surg there and sort of like make him go back. It's just a little tricky. So yeah, then we have the sliding back, which I really like how this background turned out. A lot of lines. You can see the background is not filled in right here, and like right here the lines are a little bit broken, but other than those two little hiccups, I wanted it to be zoomed in a little bit more and I messed up. But yeah, it looks pretty good though. You know, he just sort of puts his fist together. All of these are redrawn. I didn't reuse any of these. You can see they're all redraws, which isn't too big of a deal, but I could have just kept the body the same in every shot and moved the arms, but I figured redrawing it would look kind of cool and make it look like there's a little bit more animation going on. Wanted this shot to hold a little bit longer, but I didn't have enough. Like, if I had held this shot longer, he would have stopped and then started sliding again, and that wouldn't really make sense. So I would have had to have drawn this and then shrunk it, and yeah, so I wanted his arms to hold out a little bit longer, but it turned out good. And another teleporting effect, this time just a pretty basic blinking effect. The shot of his lines, the lines are meant to be his body colors, so you have yellow, the skin color, black, red, but they don't look very good. That didn't turn out as good as I wanted it to, but he comes into focus. He's moving towards Jet right now, but it's kind of hard to tell because he's a little bit far away. That's why when Jet hits him, it's a little bit jarring, but he's moving closer as Jet is saying heavy steel, and then put a little bit of shading on him here and give him the exclamation points. And then impact frame, once again, silhouette of the attack. And here's, I think I did the limb shaking here much better, probably because I included the impact frames, but this just turned out really good to me. And this is actually another, I didn't really mention it, but when I did the eyes before, I sort of just erased and just redrew the eyebrows, and I kept everything else the same. I sort of did that here. Surg right here is actually a complete redraw in both frames, as you can see. He's completely redrawn in both. But Jet right here is actually, only his head is redrawn, and only the piston and his arm are redrawn. The body is being shaken, but it's the same image. And it was just an easy way to still make it look like he's shaking while, you know, not having to redraw his entire body again. It looks good. At least in my opinion, it looks good. And then the piston hitting, which, once again, a little bit of a zoom in with the keen burns to show the impact. Speed lines to show the speed and everything, and boom, then it sends him flying. This actually is pretty interesting because it looks really good, at least in my opinion. Like, him flying against the wall looks really nice and has good impact, but it's actually only like 3 frames. You got this frame, well, I mean, besides the air rings are 3 frames. You have 1, 2, 3, and then blurry, hitting the wall, and the cracks grow, and the smoke, but the actual movement of him hitting the wall is very fast. It's just boom, boom. There's literally like pretty much just 2 frames, really. But I think because I blurred this frame so much, it created a nice sense of motion. And it's only on screen for like less than half a second, so yeah, it goes by pretty quick, but I think it turned out really nice. And the cracks growing in the wall, and I decided to texture this one a little bit more. You see the wall has more texture on it, and the floor has more texture, which I think turned out really nice. I'm doing that in part 2 as well. I'm going to try to texture the backgrounds a bit better in part 2. Especially for the close-up that it starts with. So, yeah, and that's pretty much the video. Took a little bit of inspiration from American cartoons for the impact frames, took some inspiration from Japanese animators for the impact, and everything else was pretty much just what I thought just sort of made sense, based on what I've seen in other animations. Just sort of tried to recreate them. I'm not sure how many frames this is. Close to 150, I know that. I know this is close to 150 frames. Or maybe just a little over 150, I forget. And this will be interesting too, I've got a little bit of the old frames. Like, here's what they looked like when they were drawn on paper. Obviously much sloppier, and still have some lines in there to show how I drew them. And they still look okay, you know, but obviously the cleaned up versions look much better. And there we go, we got right there. Boom. What else do we have? We've got, let's see. Here's these redrawn. He actually didn't have steel on his arms originally. I knew I was going to do that in post. Not really post, but I knew when I colored him I was going to put the steel on his arms, so that works out. And yeah, there's like one of the clips kind of just cut together, and yeah, so that's pretty much it. Got that Dragon Ball thumbnail still in here. I didn't delete that. We got the flipping. That looks pretty good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's really not much else to say. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I hope it was informative and cool, and you kind of get a sense of how I made this video. And as far as actually putting the frames together, because I don't have it frame by frame, what I do, and this is in iMovie, mind you, I put all the pictures in. Like, let me see. Hold on, iMovie's being stupid. Here, this is a picture. Whoa, excuse me. Okay, here we go. Put this picture right here. And they usually go in about 4 seconds, and it kind of auto applies this keen burn zoom to it. So I just fit it to the frame so it doesn't have that zoom anymore. And then I shrink them down all the way to just 0.1 second. And that's a clip. Hold on, where's another picture? And then I put another one in, and I basically just line up as many frames as I need for that particular cut. And let's get rid of the zoom. And then they go by really quick, so boom, you know, they go by really fast, and I just line them up. And usually that's not fast enough. Usually I have to save the file as a movie and then make it even faster to convey the speed of the attacks. Like, animation has a pretty high frame rate, and my frame rate's not even the highest for most of these shots, so that's why the animation isn't the most pristine. So yeah. And then actually, if I was to let me see, let me bring, no, that's a clip, let me bring this one in. These aren't even going to be in order, but that's not the point. Let's put this one here, and we'll leave this one here for a good amount of time, and then we'll leave this one here for a good amount of time, and then we'll provide the zoom for this one, and then we want this one to zoom out. So yeah, it ends here. Wait, hold on. We want this one to start here and end there, and then we want this one to start from the inside and go out. So then let's let it play. See, it gets that little jolt. Oh wait, I didn't. Yeah, this one, it's because this is a long, I forgot about that. Hold on. Let me split it. And this is 0.2 seconds, or decrease it to 0.1 second, and then fit that. See, it goes in and out real quick, and that's how I do those really quick impact jolts. Boop, like that. So, anyways, that's pretty much how I do it. It's pretty simple. Like I said, sometimes I'll have to like zoom up the frame. Like, if it's a vertical frame, I have to like start it, or not, end it there, and then go, whoa, technical difficulties, there we go. And then let's see, play, you see it zooms up like that. That's pretty much what I did for this shot that's playing right here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I hope it wasn't boring. If it was boring, go ahead and tell me if it was in the comments below, because I don't want to make boring videos like this if I ever make any more animation breakdowns. And yeah, that's it. So there's still a couple of errors in here that I kind of didn't want to have make it into the final product, but I just couldn't really fix them in post at all. Like, redrawing these is really annoying as it is, so going in and erasing and redrawing more, it's tedious. So yeah, but I'll try to make the next one be a little bit more polished in terms of art. But that's pretty much the video. So with all that being said, what do you guys think of the animation, if you didn't already tell me on the video itself? And are you looking forward to more animations from me? Do you have any advice for me, possibly, for my animations? And yeah, you can tell me all that in the comments section below. Also, follow me on Instagram or add me on PSN. I'm petplatypus on both. You can also give this video a thumbs up and share it on social media. Both those would help me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't already, or if you like what you've seen here. I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.